Y'all excited to be at school today, right? It's the energy I'm getting, yeah. Who needs a weekend? Y'all are here, it's Monday, y'all are ready to go. Well, good morning, everyone. With all that's going on in the world today and in our nation in particular, it seemed like this was a really good time for the school chaplain to come in here and speak a few words to our school today. This is a time of high anxiety, lots of nerves, frayed nerves and flared tempers, and so a spiritual word might really be beneficial to you all today. So that's why I'm here to talk to you all about bricks. Bricks, the kind of thing, have you noticed just how many bricks are on campus, right? This particular brick, I don't know its age. I'm sure we could probably carbon date it or something like that based on the composition of the minerals in there. But this comes from the sidewalk over here outside of Lupton Hall by the really steep staircase outside the counseling office. I noticed it was sitting by itself next to a bush, and I looked to make sure it wasn't like structurally important, so I figured this was a safe prop to use. But yeah, we're going to talk about bricks today. Masonry, both the craft and skill of building with bricks and bricks themselves. Because, like I said, if you haven't noticed, we are surrounded by them. I'd be curious if a math class ever tried to sort of reason or figure out how many bricks do we actually have roughly on campus. That would be a fun project to estimate, because my guess is it's an order of magnitude more than I would possibly imagine. And we're all terribly busy at Baylor, so it's easy to forget these humble building blocks of our campus, except for when these little bad boys like to pop up on the sidewalk and catch your toe and you trip and fall. It's like the bricks saying, hey, I'm here. Well, we see you, brick, and we love you. You're good. These bricks make our campus beautiful. These bricks make our campus aesthetically pleasing. If you haven't noticed, we live and work and go to school in an amazing place, in an amazing part of our state. The red to reddish brown of our brick pairs nicely with the greens of the gorge and the blues of the Tennessee sky in the warmer months. We can easily lose sight of where a building ends and the leaves begin in the fall. And we see the buildings truly pop with the grays and whites of winter with these red bricks. But as I've walked the hill since coming home, I've noticed something else about our bricks. They tell a story. You can read the history of Baylor if you look closely enough. See the old mortar holding weathered brick on the tower or of Lupton and Hunter Halls. This masonry whispers of a long passage of time and of generations of Baylor students and teachers walking by. Or the crisp, clean lines of mortar that hold razor-sharp bricks together in newer construction like Harrison, Ireland, Weeks, Roddy, or the Pack. These are whippersnapper bricks. They are just beginning to witness to Baylor's long treasured history. And what's more, these bricks tell a story of changes and chances. Look closely at the eaves of Hunter Hall, and you'll see mismatched bricks and mortar indicating that at some point repairs were required. Maybe the building was struck by lightning. And what of the evidence of old windows and doors, once portals for light and people, now bricked over with bricks that don't match the color and composition of the rest of the building? If you look over in the corner of Lupton, near where this brick was found, you'll see that there was once a window there. Wonder what was behind it. Whose office was that? Was it a dorm room? Who knows? You'll see this also in the old chapel. Telltale signs of a layout that has changed and choices that were made to change them. Speaking of the old chapel, the next time you're out in the quad, which will be in a few minutes after this talk, take a look at the bell tower. You'll notice quickly that it is a quilt work of various styles of brick from different times. And if you need a geography lesson, a reminder of where we are in East Tennessee, we live in an area dominated by karst topography. Anybody learned about that yet in geography class? Karst topography? Has anyone ever been on a walkabout trip to a cave yet? A couple of y'all? Okay, all right. So our region is dominated by limestone that gets hollowed out with groundwater. The groundwater leaches minerals away, and what's left is a very porous Swiss cheese-like structure, all the caves that we have. But sometimes those caves don't do a good job of holding up what's above it. And so, whether it's a pothole or a cave system, what's above tends to sink and sag. That's why we have all the billboards for foundation repair in our area. Baylor's masonry speaks to the foundations shifting from time to time and repair work necessary to correct it. You'll notice at the end of the quad in the admissions office, there's a little stair step that matches the stair step of the actual stairs that speaks to the foundations shifting over time as things change underground. While this is a geologic event, this sort of leaching of the minerals, I suspect too, have you noticed the size of our groundhog holes around here? I'd be curious to know just how extensive this network of groundhog habitation really is, and maybe they're responsible for getting under some buildings. So our bricks tell many stories, stories involving choices to change the layout of a building. So we brick up a wall, we brick up a window or a door, choices to repair a damaged part, a foundation or an eave, choices to keep an older structure, choices to tear down and build anew, choices to blend, to graft on new to old. Who knew that bricks could tell so much? Now today, we agree with lots of these choices. We have beautiful buildings, but we also might find fault, opportunities to criticize choices that were made. With the benefit of hindsight and decades of improved construction and engineering techniques, we may see errors in the choices these previous builders and repairers made. Some of these gaffes we can live with and say, oh well, they didn't know any better, or we now know more. Other times, though, previous choices that were made may require us to correct them. We might come to the realization that we must change something in our past, or else the damage could continue with serious consequences if we do not act. In all such cases, though, it's doubtful that our Baylor bricks speak to someone who built with ill intent, not some mastermind who's decided that they preferred the Macaulay School, and so I'm going to build Baylor with bad bricks. No. Each of us learns, lunches, and lives in these beloved buildings. And so we must trust that the foundations are sound. Trust in those who built them. Trust in those who repair them. That they have what is best for us and for Baylor in mind when they make the choices that they've made. I think our bricks are a helpful reminder for us for how we are to live our common life together. The late Lord Jonathan Sacks, former chief rabbi of the United Kingdom, spoke and wrote extensively on subjects relating to society and civic engagement. In his book, The Home We Build Together, he states that society is the home that we share because we build it together. We are all, each of us, fortunate to be able to go to a place that we call home. It's where our family lives, but our families are quite small compared to the family that we share in our body politic, in our society. And so he's inviting us to imagine that perhaps we are all building a home in which we can all belong. Across time, across differences, across disagreements, we build our home. We build our society together, just as our bricks speak to building together. Our life is a complex negotiation between choices made in the past, what we think ought to happen today, and the dreams that we have for what will come, what tomorrow may hold, what our future will be together. As we build, you and I will not see eye to eye. We will disagree on the floor plan. We will argue over the placement of windows and doors. We will disagree on the paint scheme, carpet, hardwood, linoleum. And some will see an unfair distribution of square footage in certain spaces. Others will argue that there is a problem. So do we throw up our hands and walk away from each other saying, fine, I'll live by myself in a building just for me? Or do we remain committed to each other, recognizing that you and I can only build bigger, larger, more magnificent buildings if we have enough hands, more hands to represent more ideas and more perspectives? The late 16th and early 17th century Anglican priest and poet John Donne was compelled to remind his friends that no man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. Now, these words from a sermon of his are obviously directed at the male populace because he lived when he did, but he's speaking to all of us today. Each of us belongs to one another. To retreat from one another, to pull apart, is no way to build a home or to build a society. Indeed, to pull apart, to remove ourselves from each other, is contrary to our very nature, according to the late Archbishop of Cape Town, Desmond Tutu, winner of the 1984 Nobel Peace Prize. He worked against apartheid in South Africa. He knows a thing or two about how to live together in peace. He helped raise awareness for the concept of Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a polyvalent, so many-faceted concept, which originates among the African cultures that share the Bantu language family. Put simply, Ubuntu means I am because you are. I am an individual. I have things that make me special, make me unique. You are an individual. Things about you that we should celebrate and say, this person is truly unique and special. And that's true. But what Ubuntu demands of us is that we recognize that I am not a fully mature and realized person. You are not a fully mature and realized person until we recognize that our most complete selves require us to recognize the reality and the dignity and the connection to others. So we're called to build a life together, to live in society with one another, to have a home together in which we live and move and have our being. So what do we use to build this home? Because obviously we can't build a home big enough for everybody, at least with stuff. So we do it with ideas. The brick and mortar and tools of this society that we build are trust, hope, and dignity. Those combine to create a sound foundation with walls, a roof, and plenty of space for all to call home. Our commitment to these values ensures that past mistakes in construction, mistakes that denied the dignity of others and diminished the hope of others or eroded the trust that we have with one another, are removed and remediated. You could build the most magnificent structure in the world, but if it stands on a rotten foundation, it won't last. Baylor's bricks show us what is possible if we are committed to building for tomorrow, not just for today, or fighting for a past that has gone. Look at what we can do when we trust one another, when we have the humility to recognize that perhaps we've made a poor choice in the past, and it's time to correct it. You and I can only grow by learning from these past mistakes and honoring the contributions of all of those who have a part to play in building the future that we share. Our bricks speak to the choices that have been made to keep, to part with, to change, to compromise, all in the service of a larger vision, a vision that's a lot bigger than just bricks. It speaks to the choice to grow together rather than apart, rather to endure unceasing cycles of tearing down and raising up simply because, well, I didn't build it. I can't trust that. I'm only going to do it my way. Imagine a campus that we would have if every headmaster tore out every building down and rebuilt it every time. I think it's fitting that we have a major feast of the church every year around this time of year, and it happens to fall so closely to a major secular event like the election. For All Saints' Day, we speak of a communion of saints, a community of faith of those dedicated to a beatific vision, a blissful vision of a heavenly society where peace reigns in a world reflecting the justice, love, and mercy of God. The church calls the faithful to do what they can to make sure that the world is healed and reflects this reality more perfectly. They cannot do it alone. And so the saints are there to offer and assist through inspiration and intercession. The Feast of All Saints calls to our attention the fact that we are all bound together, living and dead and those yet to be born, across time and space, across geography and circumstance, into a beloved family, a human family. And families we know squabble, families have their fights, and sometimes they do worse to one another. But it is a family that is continually recalled to its true self, a family of respect and love. On the eve of major choices in our common life as Americans, I think it's important that we remember that it is possible to love and respect the dignity of all across seemingly insurmountable difference. It is possible to struggle through sincere disagreements to preserve our common life together in community. It is possible, it is necessary to name wrongs, to admit hurts, and then to walk together through reconciliation into a healed tomorrow. So your assignment today is to go out there and look at our buildings, look at our bricks, and ponder. Ask yourself, what can we build together with trust, hope, and dignity as our brick, mortar, and spade? May God grant each and every one of us the greatness of spirit to be bold in our dreams of what we can build, but also humble enough to know that our dreams aren't perfect alone, but made better as we dream together for tomorrow. Mr. Wilson, can I keep the brick? Okay, I keep the